Hola, Alba aquí at Seriela, and I'll be vlogging the books that I'm judging for the Booktube Prize, Nonfiction category, the Octofinal round. They are as follows. In Love by Amy Bloom, Manifesto by Bernardine Evaristo, Solito by Javier Zamora, Stay True by Huasu, Dinner with Ruth by Nina Totenberg, and Buster Keaton by James Curtis. I don't usually read about the books before starting so that I can maintain an open mind, as open as I possibly can. I'm just going to tell you about what I've read so far in Buster Keaton, because Buster Keaton clocks in at 832 pages. It's the biggest book, and it's a library loan from Libby, and also the audiobook, which I'll be listening to as I iron. Okay, and I'm on chapter 3 already, and although it's engaging to me because I remember watching Buster Keaton reruns on TV when I was small, and he was always entertaining and funny. But I kept wondering why the author goes into so much painstaking detail. Both Buster Keaton's mother and father were performers, and incorporated Buster Keaton as soon as he was able to walk practically into the show. And we follow those first couple of chapters. We follow the family all over the Midwest, the West, the East Coast, working in different venues, their vaudeville show, the one that they have. As time goes on, Buster Keaton, the little boy, becomes more and more popular, right? I think maybe that's one of the reasons why the author goes into so much detail to highlight, first of all, how hard that life was for the performers. It was not easy. And then how gradually, with time, Buster Keaton became the draw for the whole. The father had to wear so many hats, not only as a performer, but also as a promoter of the act itself. Joe Keaton, father, would take out ads promoting the show himself out of his own pocket, and he did it, with with a lot of flair, as the performer that he was. Right? So as time went on, Buster learned increasingly how to incorporate himself, into the act. And as it was, there was a lot of slapstick and a lot of physical activity going on. He would take a lot of pratfalls and a lot of blows, for example, and he learned how to do that without injury to himself. But at the same time, in this last chapter that I was reading, Joe Keaton, the father, had an ongoing battle with the New York Society of Prevention to Children. I didn't even know that was a thing. And that society was presided by someone whose last name was Jerry. So sometimes they called it the Jerry Society, who would, and the Jerry Society lobbied the state legislature of New York to enact laws that would prohibit a lot of child performers from doing things such as gymnastics and walking tight ropes and high wire walking, things like that. And they would have agents in the shows watching and arresting or fining the promoters and the actors who would use those children. So Joe Keaton had this ongoing conflict with with that society. So sometimes what he would do was avoid working in New York City, which was, detrimental economically. But then he tried to avoid those standoffs with the New York Society of Prevention to Cruelty to Children. And he would, a lot of people would rail against the society because they would pay more attention. The Jerry Society would pay more attention to the child performers than to the children who were working in factories and sweatshops and on the corner selling newspapers. Okay? Allegedly. So at this point, Buster Keaton is around 14 years old at this part of the book and has a younger brother and a younger sister who are also part of the show. But as Buster has advanced in his performing skills, he becomes the draw. And that, that helps Joe Keaton to confront the Jerry Society in New York City more and more. So that's where I am right now. Can't wait to see what happens. I'm so glad I have the audiobook too, because I have things to do, but I can listen to it. And the narration is pretty good, as a matter of fact. It's kept me engaged so far, and I haven't lost interest at all. So that's where we got. Take care. Adios. If I could DNF this, which I won't because it's the Booktube prize, I would. I spent all day Saturday, today is Monday, I spent all day Saturday reading and listening to the audiobook. And at first it was very engaging because it was the story of the Keaton family in vaudeville. Once Buster Keaton gets into the movie industry, the author starts saying everything. It's too much. This would be a great book for a cinematography course, for the history of the movies. I get the feeling sometimes that the author maybe saw like a mini series, or a 50 episode series on Buster Keaton's life and the origins of the film industry in the United States, because that's what it sounds like. And I'm up to here. Just it's like a litany. That's what it is. It's the movie, the cast, the setting, all the problems that go with it, how much money was spent, how much money was gained, and any kind of office politics that are involved, whether he hired his dad, whether he didn't hire his dad, the Arbuckle and the Arbuckle scandal. That was one of the things that stood out the most to me. Get the book and read it. Borrow it from the library. Yeah. No. It's already like after 12. I've had other things to do. And I might read something else from the Booktube prize, because this is not doing it for me. And at chapter 12, after listening all day Saturday, chapter 12, and there are 30 chapters in all. 30. Wish me luck. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to the library in Ponce, which is like a 15-minute drive away, and I'm just going to finish this book today. Wish me luck. all day at the library. I'm going to start chapter 19, and it's only at 35% of the book. So frustrating. So frustrating. Taking notes, and noticing the pattern. He started, Buster Keaton has started talking pictures, and he's married, has 2 children, doing very well. He was doing very well as a silent movie comedian, a star. He was already a star. And the formula goes more or less like this. The author will present the movie idea that has been, presented, and he'll tell you the plot outline, the cast that is going to be employed, the crew, the production crew, who they get from director all the way down to cameraman, the extras that they are going to, the amount of extras they're going to use, and sometimes even the extras that they use, like frequently his own father and sister-in-laws and things like that. Then the filming, the different incidents, accidents, injuries, highlights during the filming. Then later on, what happens after the filming with the studio heads and things like that. And then before that movie comes out, XYZ movie comes out, they're already planning the next one, and we go through the same thing, the same loop. The plot outline, who they're going to get for it, the production crew, things like that. And then the previous movie comes out, and then you get all the money statistics. How much went into it? How much did it sell? And the profit that it made. And the reviews. All of the reviews from as many periodicals as he can get. And interspersed between all of these movies is Buster Keaton's life, which up to now, I won't spoil it, but because there are probably people who would relish reading about this, right? It is frustrating me to such a point that I could easily never watch a Buster Keaton movie again in my life. Before I would have, when I first started this book, I was contemplating searching Buster Keaton movies out on YouTube. Not anymore. No. I've had enough. I'm going to try to finish this book. Maybe I'll have to leave it to Thursday a little bit, but this book has got to end at some point. Where were the editors here? That's what I'm wondering. Who did the editing here? Were they scared to leave something out? Like one of his breaths? A sigh? Sorry. Okay. Adios. Bye. Yes! It's over. Finally. At 82%, it's finally over. The acknowledgments start at 82%. And there are a lot of them. Let me say that the audiobook was very, very good. The narration was done by David Pitu, or Pitu, and I'll be back because, as I was saying, before I was rudely interrupted, the audiobook for this is narrated by David Pitu, and he was good. He was good. He did voices. He would put on a slightly gruff voice when he was speaking like Buster Keaton, when he was, quoting something that Buster Keaton said. His voice would change when it was a female character, not too much. It wasn't, it wasn't something that was exaggerated. It was just right. And been edited down substantially, even after Buster Keaton's funeral, right? He's gone. Okay, I can understand. We're going to talk a little bit about the funeral arrangements and where he was buried, and the circumstances that his widow confronted after his death. But the whole thing about copyrights, the battle, the lawsuits between Raymond Rohr and Freeman from MGM just kept on going and kept on going and kept on going, as if it was some kind of a morality play or something. It was, some kind of a message, a lesson in how you should, be careful with your rights, the copyrights to your intellectual property. It was aggravating to the end. There's no other way I can say it. I didn't cry. It was so aggravating that, I wasn't even moved when the poor man passed, right? It was sad, and the way he passed, it was sad. But I was more moved by Stan Laurel's, the words that Dick Van Dyke said at Stan Laurel's funeral, right, which Buster Keaton attended with his wife when that happened. That moved me to tears. I don't think that's supposed to be happening, but it did, because I was just up to here with all the details of every movie, every activity, every commercial, every TV performance, everything. I'm glad it's over. And I hope that the other ones, I have a better experience with the next ones in the Booktube prize. Adiós. Compadre, póngase duro, que ahora sí que vamos a gozar.